Hi friends, how are you today? Hey, my name is Bailey Sarian and today is Monday, which means it's Murder, Mystery, and Makeup Monday. Yay, 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 yay. If you're new here, hi, my name is Bailey Sarian, and on Mondays I sit down and talk about a true crime story that's been heavy on my noggin. And I was about to say brain skull, and I don't know where that was coming from. And I do my makeup at the same time. If you're interested in true crime and you like makeup, I would say subscribe because I'm here for you on Mondays. And you may have noticed it's October, baby. So I went off and changed my background to give some kind of spookiness to today's episode. Hello. Well, listen, I realized last minute, I was like, oh no, wait, this is a Halloween episode. What look should I do? And I was like, oh no, I didn't have time to think. So for today's look, I decided, you know what? I want to do Morticia Addams. Yeah. But my favorite Morticia Addams, Angelica Houston. This look? Yeah. Because I don't want to be Wednesday Addams. I want to be Morticia. So that's what I'm going to go for today, okay? But that's not really even the point. The point is today's story will stress you out. Not really. Well, it will. I don't know. We'll see. Because listen, they called this woman the Kentucky Jodi Arias, which if you're familiar with Miss Jodi Arias, then you know, okay, we're already off to quite the start. So this woman, she's young, she's smart, she's ambitious. And honestly, it seemed like she had it all. A hot bod. She was gorgeous. Except the one thing she could not control. Her obsession. Shayna Hubers wasn't just in love, she was consumed. When her boyfriend tried to leave, she wasn't just going to let him walk away. Oh no, she was not. No, she was not. Now, what followed was a dark cocktail of jealousy, manipulation, and violence that left everyone asking, was this a desperate act of self-defense or a cold execution? I know, I kind of been doing a lot of women lately, huh? I'm on one. Trust me, the interrogation tapes, the bizarre behavior, the never-ending trials, you are not going to believe how wild this case is, okay? Let's get into it. If you're ever curious to know what I'm using, I'll list it down in the description box below. But other than that, let me tell you about Shayna Hubers, okay? 19-year-old Shayna Hubers, she was attending the University of Kentucky, and she was pursuing a degree in psychology. Now, she was considered, fun college girl. And I guess she also did some modeling on the side. She was good looking. She had beauty. She had brains. She had big, beautiful eyes, brunette hair, a fit bod, great smile. She was given Teresa Barbie, kind of. So in 2011, some friends of hers, they posted pictures from their spring break trip onto their Facebook, So they're And in one of those pictures, Shayna and her friends, they were, in their little black bikinis, posing on a nice balcony, just looking all hot. Yeah. Post that onto Facebook, right? So that caught the attention of this guy named Ryan Poston. Now, he must have been friends with whoever posted it, okay? So he sees this picture and he's like, ooh. So Ryan, he was 29 years old and he was working as an attorney in Cincinnati. So he was kind of a bigwig. He even had his own legal practice. So he sees this picture of Shayna on Facebook and he was like, I'm going to send her a friend request. And he sure did. He sends her a friend request and then Shayna accepts because Ryan, he wasn't bad looking. She was into him. I mean, between the eyebrows, the hair, and every photo of him, he's giving this smoldering stare. He never smiled. She was always he was kind of giving me young Christian Bale in American Psycho. Does he though? It doesn't matter. We're moving on. He had the stare. So Shayna, she accepts his friend request, and then the two of them, they're like sending flirty messages back and forth. And it's like nothing major. It's just like, oh my God, you're hot. Oh my God, you're hot. That's hot. Yeah. A few months go by, and then Ryan, he goes to a party at the University of Kentucky. Now, his cousin, Carissa, she invited him to come to this party. So he's like, okay, I'm down. So he ends up going to the party, right? And he realizes that his cousin is actually good friends with that hottie from Facebook, Shayna. I know, I was like, small world? Or was it a planned meet cute? I don't know. So he realizes this, and he's like, hey, to his cousin Carissa, like, introduce us, So Carissa, she introduces them, and then the two hit it off immediately. I guess it was like from then on, Ryan would drive 2 hours from his condo to Shayna's apartment almost every single weekend. And when Shayna had graduated, I guess like that following year, she would make the drive to his condo in Highland Heights, Kentucky. From the outside, it seemed like Ryan and Shayna were in, a new happy relationship. Plus, they're both good looking, so everyone's like, well, living the dream. Or so it seemed, because we're here. According to Ryan's friends, he started to express that, like, he was losing interest in Shayna, but he was having a hard time breaking up with her because he was too nice and he didn't want to hurt her feelings. But Shayna, she had like a very different take on their relationship. She would tell people how happy she was with Ryan and would talk about how the two of them, they were going to get married. It was just like it was perfect. Carissa, Ryan's cousin, said that Shayna would like always say she couldn't wait to be related to her for real. But I guess there were times when Shayna would mention to others that like Ryan was a little abusive towards her, mostly emotional, but there were times when it got physical. I guess there was this one night where Shayna went to the neighbor's condo and she was crying, saying that Ryan had grabbed her and like, I guess, thrown her to the ground. And her arm was like all red. So the neighbor believed her and told her like, report it to the police, and like freaking leave him. But, Shayna just decided to let it go. Throughout their relationship, Ryan would bring Shayna with him to like a lot of his family events, big and small. And on October 11th, 2012, Ryan actually invited Shayna to go with him to his parents' house to watch the live vice presidential debate. So they go, great. While they were there, I guess Ryan at some point pulled his stepdad aside and he wanted to get his advice on how to handle ending things with Shayna because he actually had met someone else that he was like really excited to get to know. So Ryan told his stepdad all about this woman. He said, well, I have a date tomorrow night with somebody who I'm like really excited to meet. She's beautiful, she's tall, she's blonde, and she's Miss Ohio. Literally, Miss Ohio. Yeah, apparently he and Miss Ohio at the time, her name was Audrey Bolt. They had been messaging and texting for like months, and they were finally planning to meet. So Ryan was like all excited about it. Plus she's gorgeous, looks like a Barbie doll. He seems to have a type. But he was sharing all this with his stepdad. And yes, he was talking to Miss Ohio while he was still, quote unquote, with Shayna, Okay. Now, according to Ryan's stepdad, he told him, like, look, just let Shayna down easy and be respectful. But overall, according to his stepdad, he said that Ryan seemed like really excited about this potential new love interest. So after the debate ended, Ryan and Shayna, they had left his parents' house and they went back to his condo. Now, it was said that the two of them got into some kind of argument around 3 a.m. Now, I guess, whatever happened, Shayna was so upset, she ended up calling her mom, again at 3 a.m., and her mom answers, good for her, telling her, like, that she was having chest pains and just, like, she wasn't okay. Sharon, her mom, When they're on the phone, she can kind of, she could tell something was different, like something was off. And, she had those mom spidey senses kind of tingling in her brain. Sharon later said that she was worried about her daughter's well-being because I guess Shayna told her mom, that Ryan had guns just laying like all around his place and would sometimes just like shoot random things inside. Like he would just, I guess, pick up one of his guns and like shoot at a book that was sitting on the shelf. I know. Could you imagine being their downstairs neighbors? You already got to deal with the people who are always like friggin' wearing clogs all the time at like 2 a.m. And now you got like someone randomly shooting upstairs. Anyways. So I guess he would do that. I'm just like, who does that? So after that phone call, Sharon, she ended up driving 2 hours from Lexington to Ryan's condo, to go check on her daughter. Again, it's like freaking 3 a.m. or something, so she gets there really early. When she got there, the two of them decided to leave his place and just like spend the day together. I guess sometime later that day, Ryan had texted Shayna, quote, "I think I need some time by myself this weekend, Shayna." And Shayna replied, "I'll be by later to get some bath items and head to the Marriott." Meaning she was going to like go get her stuff and then just get out of his way and go stay at a hotel. So Shayna's mom, she had dropped her off at Ryan's condo and then headed back home. Just hours later at 8:53 p.m. on October 12th, Shayna called Campbell County 911.
Campbell County 911. Ma'am, I killed my boyfriend in self-defense. What did you kill him with? A loaded gun in the house. Tell me where the gun is right now. The gun is in the house. Where at though, ma'am? Tell me where it's at. I laid it on the bookshelf. Where are you? I'm standing about 10 feet from his dead body. Okay, are you sure that he is dead? He's dead, ma'am. He's completely dead.
Hey, at least she confessed. Case closed. So Shayna then asked the dispatcher, like, are the police going to arrest me? Am I going to be under arrest? And when the dispatcher couldn't give her a straight answer, Shayna just blurted out, like, I'm not a murderer, ma'am. I just killed him in self-defense. Shayna told the dispatcher that Ryan had attacked her and tried to, like, throw her out of the house. She said when she tried to grab her things, he was standing right in front of her, grabbed a gun, and she took it from his hand, and then she pulled the trigger. The dispatcher asked if she needed an ambulance because, it sounded like she was attacked as well. Shayna did say she was thrown against the couch, so do you need an ambulance? Do you need an ambulance? Shayna said no, she did not need an ambulance. She didn't have any injuries. So then the dispatcher asked, if there was a history of domestic violence between the two of them, and Shayna said yes. So at this point, the true first responders, when it comes to cases or shit like this, is always the dispatcher. Now, the dispatcher usually is talking to sometimes the killer, and their job is to try and get them to kind of keep talking in a way, get some clarity here, while you have them. So the dispatcher is trying to do just that. She's trying to get clarity on the situation because it's not really making sense. At first, Shayna told the dispatcher that Ryan tried to throw her out of the house. And then she said he threw her across the room to the floor. And now she was saying that he threw her into the couch. So the story was just which is it, ma'am? Ma'am, which is it? And then Shayna, mid-call, still crying and all that, she kind of has a moment where she snaps out of it. And on the call, she almost sounds annoyed because apparently she could hear an echo on the call and it was really bothering her. So she tells the dispatcher.
And when I reached around to try to get my things, I I can hear myself echoing in the background, ma'am. It's just this phone system. This phone system has got a delay. And he pushed me down from the door all the way to the couch, and when they come here, they'll see how far that is.
Okay. I don't know. Just a little, it's just those little things where you're like, okay. Then she goes back to like telling the story and crying and stuff. It was just kind of a little weird, strange moment, you know? Now listen. Shayna then reveals something like even more disturbing on the call. Okay? She said that after she first shot Ryan, he started twitching. So she shot him again. And the dispatcher was like, I'm sorry, you shot him a couple more times after that? And Shayna, she was like, yeah. It's not funny. She was like, enough to make sure he was dead because he was twitching so bad. I didn't want him to lay there and twitch. So the dispatcher was like, so you shot him instead of calling 911? And Shayna was like, yeah, I did because I knew he was going to die anyway. Okay, what do you say to that? That's something like when people go hunting and they want to put an animal out of their misery and they shoot them, you know? But like, I don't think that applies here, ma'am. So listen, after this, you know, the police get to Ryan's condo quick and they immediately arrest Shayna. So Officer David Fornash Jr. showed up and he went into Ryan's condo to check out the scene of the crime. Now, when he first got in there, you know, he described Ryan's place as like a pretty normal bachelor pad. When you first walked into the door, it's like the living room area. And then if you went to the right, it's like a hallway that leads to the spare bedroom and the bathroom. And Ryan was using this area as like his closet. It was full of suits, ties, and tactical gear. And then behind the living room was the main bedroom and the kitchen. And then next to the kitchen is like the dining room area. In the dining room area, that's where they found Ryan's body on the floor next to the dining room table. So, noted. At the police station, Officer Fornash, he explained to Shayna her Miranda rights. You know, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right... I don't really know what they have. But you know, yeah. So he reads her rights, and he had her sign a waiver saying that she understood her rights. Now, while signing this waiver, Shayna made it clear she wanted an attorney. So Officer Fornash said, you know, okay, I won't ask you any questions, but I still need some answers from you for like the general paperwork that they have to fill out. Like, what's your full name, your date of birth, blah, 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 you know. So Officer Fornash, he's like taking this information down, you know. And while doing so, Shayna, she just like starts running her mouth. She starts talking. And she's talking all about her and Ryan's relationship. Now she starts telling the officers in the room, like, he was abusive, and that, you know, she had to defend herself. Now, again, because she asked for an attorney, the officers that were in the room, they were not allowed to ask any questions, but they let her keep talking. Now, listen, here at Murder Mystery Makeup, we were able to get like all of the documents, the footage, everything regarding this case, thanks to Highland Heights Police Chief Bill Birkenhauer. And he oversaw the case and he even testified in trial. So he sent us like friggin' everything. So we have some of the interrogation footage. I've seen clips of it here and there when I was like researching it, but I haven't seen this one. So we're gonna watch it. Because apparently it's bizarre, okay?
You want to contact an attorney, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Something like this.
Okay. That'll work. Right now, just hang tight and drink your water, okay?
And I shot him in self-defense because he's done stuff before where I've hit my head on a headboard and could have died.
Okay. Well, that's the kind of questions I was going to ask. I can't ask you these questions, okay? But when you make the statements, that's fine. But I can't ask you any questions because you want an attorney.
I do want an attorney.
Okay. So I can't ask you any questions at all.
I'm not a malicious person. Like, I'm not somebody that's ever done this. Like, I was
anyone that knows me, like any character witnesses, even his own family would say I'm a nice, good person. He had put his arm across the table, and there's a lamp, and he had put his arm across the table and had it in my face and was screaming at me at the top of his lungs after he had thrown me around the room. One of our last conversations we had that was good was that he wants my best friend who's a dentist to do his veneers and wants to get a nose job. Just that kind of person. And I shot him right here. I gave him his nose job. He wanted. He was physically violent with me and threw me around the room.
She gave him the nose job he always wanted. Shut up. Why was why is she talking? I mean, like, it's good she's talking, you know, but like, what are you fighting? You crazy. What?
Room all the way into the dining room, all the way into the living room, back into the dining room. His obsession with guns killed him. You know, I would never, but for some reason there's like this peace because I know that I didn't do anything out of like malicious intent. If someone else was in the room and they watched it go down, they would have been like, good for her. She was beaten up or thrown around the room. Like, I don't have any marks, but I was thrown around the room. I probably do on my legs, actually. I was thinking about that. I probably do have some bruises. My shoulder hurts.
Have you seen that Michael Jackson meme where he's like, my shoulder hurts?
My shoulder is dislocated, literally. I'm in pain all the time.
It's giving me that right now.
I think he grabbed me by the shoulder. It feels like sore. But it's not because she keeps telling me. I probably don't want to sit in here. You know?
No.
Probably would have badly hurt me. I don't know if he would have killed me, but he would have badly hurt me. And I know it would have killed him. I don't know if anyone will ever want to marry me if they know that I killed a boyfriend in self-defense. It's not funny, but...
No, it's not. No.
He's sitting here like, oh, I hope Ryan's family doesn't hate me. Fuck them. Their son is an abusive shit. Their son beat a girl who weighs 85 pounds less than him and drug her around his house. Pulled me by the ponytail of my hair. He deserved it. Hell has no fury like a woman's scorn. Never believed it until now. I have 2 papers due Monday that I haven't submitted. I don't know if that's even gonna matter now. If you go to jail, are you allowed to keep your phone and like keep contact with people and stuff?
Your cell phone?
My cell phone?
I don't think so.
Yeah, worst time to be on your period, I tell you what. Now, here's a good question.
Pausing there because circling back to our Clara Harris episode, I still can't get over that like crime of passion situation. What was it? Passion of crime? Sudden passion crime? If she would have said, I was on my period and I killed him, whatever, I bet you in Texas she could have, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, she's not in Texas though.
If I had to go to jail, can you shower there? Or do you just get really dirty?
I think they let you shower there.
Really?
Yeah, pretty sure.
I have to shower in front of people? Oh, shit.
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Idea.
Here's what's going to happen right now, Shayna. Okay, with everything that we have, I'm gonna have to charge you with murder. Okay, for right now. And
right now?
Yeah. Well, we got until you go to court and stuff, and they decide what they're going to do with it. Okay. But what we're going to do is we'll do a search. We're going to need your clothes. Officer Lane's going to be in here, and she's going to help you take your clothes off, and you're going to put them in bags.
What degree?
Murder. There's no degree.
Okay, well, what are we going to say about that? Well, I don't know. She said a lot, huh? And they just let her keep talking. And good thing they did. I think that one line, though, of just, like, she gave him the nose job that he always wanted, that's fucked up, girl. Like, did you really just say that? Jeez Louise. I think we all assume, like, if you went through something really traumatic like that and, like, you just, like, you in self-defense, like, killed someone, I guess we all in our mind have an idea of how you would behave, and I don't think that's it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's it. I don't think that's how you do it. But okay, girl. Now listen. Apparently every time she was left alone in the interrogation room, she would start acting, again, kind of odd for someone who just went through a very traumatic experience. I've seen some clips of this online when I was doing my research, but again, we got some like extra footage. So let's watch this clip together. Shayna in the interrogation room alone. Is she barefoot?
How sweet the sound.
She should just sing in the church choir.
Thank you.
She killed him?
I did. Yes, I did. I can't believe I did that.
Do people not realize that they're being... I thought it's like common knowledge you're being filmed. Did she think no one was going to catch that? Yep, I did it. I killed him. What else did she say? Oh, I'm a good actor. Do you think no one is watching you? Like, are you...
Fucking hillbilly. You fucking
Oh, now she's a dancer. Oh, okay.
Before he died.
She's coming up with a story right now. Oh, okay, that's right. All right. She's dancing. She's snapping her fingers, saying, yep, I did it. I can't believe I did that. Great. You just gave the police everything they needed right then and like, what are you doing? So basically, with all the stuff she said, because that was just a little tiny bit of it, with all the stuff she said, how she's acting, police are thinking, this most likely is not self-defense, you know? This is probably just straight up murder. A lot of things are not adding up with her story. At this point, Shayna was officially charged for the murder of Ryan Poston, and her bond was set for like $5 million, and she didn't have that kind of money, so she remained in custody throughout the investigation. So with Shayna behind bars, the police investigation focused less on did she do it and more on why did she do it. Shayna said from the very beginning it was self-defense, but the police needed proof if that was true, or they needed proof that it was premeditated. Now, the autopsy report showed that Ryan was shot a total of 6 times. Yeah, that's a lot. He was shot in the face, his head, his chest, his side. The coroner also found gun residue on Ryan's body, which meant that some of the shots were fired at a very close range. Now, on top of that, some of the bullets entered his body at like a downward angle, which would suggest that Shayna was standing over him. Self-defense wear, you know? The coroner later testified that Ryan was most likely sitting down when the first shot was fired, which was very different from what Shayna originally said. Remember on the 911 call, she said that he was standing in front of her when she took the gun from him and she pulled the trigger. So, you know, they have their theories and all that stuff. So their investigators are still looking for more. And they looked into Shayna's internet search history. Ooh, you know, that can say a lot about a person. I always think about mine. I'm like, oh my, oh dear. My internet. Okay. But anyways, they look into Shayna's internet search history. And they came across some pretty interesting searches. Just 2 days before killing Ryan, it appears that Shayna had Googled Miss Ohio Audrey Bolt. the woman that Ryan was supposed to meet up with. Yeah, Shayna had Googled her, and it's unclear how she found out about Miss Ohio. It becomes clear later on, but you know what girls do. It's like you find out maybe someone is your boyfriend or ex-boyfriend's dating someone new, so you go into your friends chat and you're like, oh my god, like look at he's dating so and so, and you guys. So she did that. Shayna like brought it up in her friends group chat. You know, like look at this is who Ryan is like dating now. And Shayna's friends were like, oh my god, you know, you look so much better than her. She's not even a real blonde. Oh my god. Just doing what friends do. Later on, I mentioned, but we know that Shayna, she had access to his Facebook and she was reading his messages. So I'm assuming that she saw the messages between him and Miss Ohio. And like that's when she Googled her and stuff. But yeah, investigators didn't technically know that she was in Ryan's Facebook at this point. Now, another suspicious Google search Shayna made just an hour before calling 911 was how to unlock a house door using a bobby pin. What are you using that for? What are you doing that for? It's all speculation here. It doesn't really say anything, but it also is like, you know, just not a good look. Now listen, the police, they ended up reviewing over 50,000 text messages, 20,000 Facebook messages, and like photos sent between Shayna and Ryan. And they came to the conclusion that these two had a very toxic on again, off again relationship. Okay? It was a lot. Now, the text messages between Shayna and Ryan, they were all over the place. I mean, one minute they would be arguing, the next they were discussing like what to eat for dinner. Shayna would text Ryan almost every single day, asking what he wanted for dinner, whether she was cooking it at like his place or she was ordering it in, anything. Even if she went out with like friends and stuff for dinner, she would send him a picture of like the menu and be like, babe, do you want something to eat? I'll bring it home for you. It was a lot. But she always made sure that he had like a warm meal waiting for him when he got home, which doesn't sound bad or anything, right? Like, okay. And if he ever forgot something at home, like his wallet, let's say he went to work, he forgot his wallet, Shayna, she'd like bring it to his office for him and be like, do you want me to bring you lunch? You know, whatever. She was always like on call. All the while, like she would be at his condo doing her schoolwork and then like cleaning his place, doing his laundry, doing the most. She was really giving Stepford wife energy, you know, which isn't bad if that's what you want to do. But like in the text messages and all the messages, Ryan never really did anything sweet like that for her. It seemed like he was never thinking about, what do you want for dinner? Like nothing. It was always from her. And then like whenever their relationship was not good, not in a good spot, they'd be fighting, Ryan would be so quick to like put her in her place. Yeah, one time there was like this one text message where he told Shayna, quote, honey, it's not a real relationship. It's just exclusive non-touching of other girls. What? Excuse me? And I guess Shayna replied to that saying, it is a real relationship or I'm not in it. She was all talk. She was still in it. It's just kind of like a dick thing to say, huh? Yeah? Just non-exclusive touching of other girls. What? Yay. You know, at one point, Ryan, he wanted out of this relationship and he tried to really negotiate with her their breakup, hoping that like Shayna would accept it if she got to look like the dumper instead of the dumpee. He texted her, you can tell people you broke up with me. You know, I won't say anything bad about you. Don't worry about the key, just throw it away. At times, messages would escalate to like, Shayna, stop texting me. I no longer have the patience to deal with you, like in all caps. I'm turning off the phone and padlocking the door. Unsubscribe. You know, like he was just freaking done. He just sounds like an asshole, but like, listen. Shayna was, okay, she was kind of doing a lot. Turns out she would be texting him multiple times a day, back to back. Now, I'm not talking like 1 or 2 times, you know. She would be sending 20 to 100 texts at a time. Huh? Yes. One of my personal pet peeves is like when someone's texting you and it'll be like 5 back-to-back texts, and it's like, couldn't you just have sent that as one text? It drives me crazy. But anyways, could you imagine 20 to 100? Oh, I would fucking lose it. Anyway, she was texting him all the time. She's complaining about how he treated her. She would be calling out his behavior, essentially having an argument with herself because he wouldn't even be replying to most of her messages. Like, there was this one day Shayna texted Ryan a long ass paragraph about how she was feeling left out because he had planned on hanging out with his friends after work instead of hanging out with her. Shayna texted him saying, "It kind of hurt my feelings that you didn't even want to see me after your events are over at night this weekend. I haven't even seen you in over a week, aside from last night." That part, it made me giggle. I was like, okay. Aside from last night. I just feel like you're going out with these people when you could go out with me after, and I kind of felt excluded. I understand that I can't go to the show, but I didn't see anything wrong with seeing you after, and it, like I said, made me wish I was invited over or out with you after. I really just wanted to have a good weekend with you, even if I only saw you tomorrow night after the show. She was saying a lot. I haven't seen you in over a week, aside from last night. Sorry, that's just so funny to me. During one of their rocky periods, Shayna had gotten a new cell phone number, and she pretended that she was a new client interested in Ryan's legal services. Because remember, Ryan was an attorney. He was working as an attorney. So she gets this new number, and she decides to call his office, pretending to be a client. Then she starts texting Ryan for urgent assistance. But instead of keeping the I'm just a client story going, she instead just started crashing out on him. She sent him texts insulting his intelligence, insulting his looks, insulting his performance in bed. She was texting him "You have a small dick, LOL, your teeth are jacked up, and you're a bad lawyer." It was oh God. Reading them, you're just this girl is a fucking idiot. Now, obviously, Ryan was super confused because he had no idea who this person was. He asked a couple of times in the text exchange, "Who is this?" But he couldn't get an answer. But I will say, based off of his responses, he kept it very professional, given what was being thrown his way. He was just okay, haha. I'll give him that. When I was going through all the documents and evidence that Chief Bill Birkenhauer had sent over to us, I came across this email that Shayna had sent Ryan some months before this weird catfish moment happened. Now, the email itself was long, but there was one line that really stood out, saying, quote, "It's sad that I just wanted anything to talk to you and be acknowledged, even if I had to come across as a client to get noticed." Essentially, this email was her apologizing to Ryan for pretending to be a client. And again, this email was dated before the text messages of her pretending to be a client. So I was wait. Did this happen did she do this before? Has she done this before and she was just doing it again? Either way, she did that, okay? Either way, whether it was once, twice, 3 times, we don't know. But she was pretending to be a client and would harass the shit out of him. Listen, exhausting, okay? Now, the day of Ryan's murder, Shayna had sent him a bunch of long-ass text messages, pretty much just talking about anything and everything she could to get to his attention. In these texts, she told him she was diagnosed with high blood pressure and heart disease, and that she was really stressed out about a dying family member. Just going on, and the doctor's giving me medication. This is the medication. I'm just so stressed, but just going on and on. She's trying to get him to bite. You know what I'm saying? She's trying to get a reaction from him. But he didn't reply to any of it. And instead, he asked for some personal space. And while the text messages between Shayna and Ryan were a lot, messages between Ryan, Shayna, and their friends, coworkers, whatever, were actually more telling. Shayna's messages told a story of obsession, deceit, and honestly straight up harassment, in my opinion. There's a friend of Shayna's. Her name was Jasna. Now, Jasna lived in the same town as Ryan, and at one point, Shayna told Ryan that she had moved in with Jasna. But then, when you go through her texts, it seems that wasn't the case. Shayna had texted Jasna, "If Ryan ever tries to talk to you on Facebook about where I'm at, don't respond and don't accept his friend request. Haha. He thinks I've stayed with you all this time when I haven't. Haha. Who gives a fuck? He's a dick and abusive. I'm so done with his shit. Will you do that for me if he contacts you? LOL. Because I think he's onto me and thinks I'm being shady." Girl, you are being shady. You are being very shady. She's being exhausting, right? Oh, God. She's got Ryan over here thinking like, wow, what are the odds? I guess we live in the same town now. Shit. But the reality was, Shayna hadn't moved in with this friend. She was actually driving 2 hours to Ryan's town, and then she would stay at a hotel or a friend's house, hoping Ryan would call and ask her to come over. She just wanted to be close by, just in case. She was on call. There were times when Shayna would apparently be at his condo or whatever, and she would ask if she could borrow his laptop to write a paper for school. And of course, while she's on his laptop, she would log into his Facebook. And from his account, she would go and like her own photos, then block women he was flirting and/or messaging with, okay? And then she would she Jasna about it, just bragging ha ha ha, block that hoe, ha ha ha. So again, I think that's how she found out about Miss Ohio. Now, listen, a lot of her friends found it, all this drama kind of funny and entertaining. Remember, they're in their 20s. So it's F him, and it's, your early 20s. You don't really realize that it's stalker crazy behavior. So a lot of them are just kind of LOL, whatever, finding it entertaining. But there were a few of Shayna's friends who were actually trying to get her to snap back to reality, girl, okay? Get over him and move on. It was said that Shayna did try to date other people, but usually she would do it as a way to mention it to Ryan to make him feel jealous. She'd be yeah, I was with that guy Bobby last night and he wants to hang out or whatever. And he wouldn't even react. There was this one guy where Shayna tried to date him more seriously. And her friends were all very supportive of this. They're oh my God, good, finally. Maybe this will help you move on. This guy is a great guy. Just try it, Shayna. Just try it. But look, Shayna, she just could not let go of Ryan. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I can't do liquid eyeliner on camera, so give me a minute, I'll be right back. ASMR. Listen, one of Shayna's closest friends, her name is Christy. Christy was the dentist Shayna referenced in the interrogation video. I mean, did she clearly reference Christy, though? She just mentioned, teeth in the interrogation video. Anyways, Christy's a dentist, okay? And listen, her and Shayna were close, and they would text all the time. And at one point, Christy had gotten, so freaking annoyed with Shayna's text messages venting about Ryan that she decided to just reach out to him directly, saying, "Ryan, Shayna is more upset than usual. She loves you. I have 3 patients scheduled at 8 a.m., so for the love of Christ, can you call her and tell her you love her?" She was freaking over it. She's just in the middle of it. But Ryan also, when investigators were going through all the messages and everything, it showed that Ryan, he had a little dark side too. Like, he had an angrier side that not a lot of people saw. Like, there was this one night where Ryan was out at a bar and he ran into one of his ex-girlfriends. So he like started texting Shayna about it. And he said, quote, "I think she's afraid I'm going to kill her and everyone she knows. I told her I wouldn't be too surprised if that happened, but it would only be if I didn't have anything better to do." Okay. Then a year later, he texted Shayna again, talking about his ex-girlfriend. He texted Shayna, "She's terrified of me. One of the reasons she originally started dating me was because she was very aware that I would have killed her ex-boyfriend at the drop of a hat, and no one would have ever found his body." That's why she dated you? Well, listen, I'll say this, and this is not great, but I will say sometimes when you're younger in your 20s and you're like, "Oh my God, he'd do anything for me," you think that's like super impressive. So I'm imagining like Shayna and probably his ex were both like, "Oh my God, wow, he would do anything for me." Do you know what I'm saying? Either way, like, it's unclear how Shayna responded to these messages, but they continued to date, so it wasn't concerning to them, the ex and her. Well, obviously the ex, because she got out of it. The investigators also read some messages where Ryan had admitted to a friend that he was struggling with pills. He told his friend that his depression medication wasn't working for him, saying, "The stuff they put me on fills me with rage, from what I can tell." He messaged a different friend that same night saying, quote, he took 3 Ambien, 3 Xanax, a Klonopin, and eventually a shot of vodka. "I laid down to sleep at 12, and I estimate I finally fell asleep at 4:30. I was honestly concerned that I was going to kill myself, but I had to be in court at 9. 3 Ambien, 3 Xanax, Klonopin, what the fuck? And then he had to be in court?" Could you imagine if he was like representing you? You hired him as an attorney and he shows up like that? Well, obviously he's struggling with something. During this time, like when all these messages were going on and stuff, he was actually going through, I guess, a very stressful legal battle with an ex-business partner. And apparently it was filling him with rage. He messaged a coworker of his saying, "I want this piece of bleep destroyed." He bleeped it out. "Bury him neck deep at low tide. Throw darts at his head. Wait for high tide to roll in so I can stomp on his head while he's drowning. I want to rig explosives to everything I see. And there's nothing I want more than to just scorch the effing earth and leave this entire city in a pile of burnt rubble. Because my brain has a tripwire in there somewhere, and if it snaps, I worry about what would happen." Bro. So, he too seemed to be struggling with some issues there too. You're allowed to be angry and stuff, That doesn't mean you deserve to die. Let's be fair here. Ryan even said to a friend that maybe being a sociopath is the way to go. Yeah, that's always the answer, huh? It sounds like he was taking a bunch of medications and like maybe they weren't, well, obviously he's taking a bunch of medications, really, but like they weren't finding the right combination for him that was working, obviously. With all this evidence, the police wrapped up their investigation and it was time to move forward with the trial, finally. 2.5 years after Shayna's arrest, her trial finally started on April 13th, 2015 in Newport, Kentucky. She was now 24 years old. I know, I forget how young she is. 24? She was 22. Yeah. And she pled not guilty to Ryan's murder. She was sticking with her story of self-defense. On day 1, the prosecution played the interrogation video and the 911 call for the court. They then called Police Chief Bill Birkenhauer to the stand, and he revealed that Shayna had not immediately called 911 after shooting Ryan. This was new news to me. She actually called her mother first, and then about 15 minutes later, she called 911. In the interrogation video, Shayna admitted that she actually considered fleeing the scene, but her mom advised her to just call the police and tell the truth. And the police call log actually showed that Shayna's mom, she called 911 to make sure that Shayna had called 911. So at least her mom was like not trying to let her get away with it, you know? Experts testified about everything from blood spatter to how they believed Shayna used the murder weapon, which was a Sig Sauer 380 semi-automatic handgun. Mouthful, huh? But she used that to kill Ryan. But some of the most interesting testimony came from some of Shayna's jailmates. Oh yeah, you know, while she was in jail, she was talking. Of course she was talking. And she was talking a lot. One woman, her name was Cecily Miller, she testified that Shayna joked a lot about the shooting in jail, even telling that that nose job joke over and over again. She just thought it was hilarious. She said that Shayna openly talked about her legal strategy and how she was going to get away with it, and that Shayna believed she was just way too smart to plead insanity because she had the IQ of Einstein, according to Shayna. So she was going to plead battered wife syndrome. This is what the Cecily lady was saying. Then another jailmate, Holly Nivens, she testified that Shayna's original story, like when they first met, was that Ryan had mentally and sexually abused her, but over time, her story changed. You know, of course it did. So her story changed to now making it sound like she knew exactly what she was doing. And again, like she was almost bragging to Holly about killing him. Holly also testified that Shayna was taking notes on the Jodi Arias trial. Yes, it was airing at the time. And that she was kind of like using it as a guide for what to do and like what not to do in the courtroom. I did a whole murder mystery and makeup episode on Jodi Arias, if you remember, or if you want to watch that one. A lot of similarities here. But while Jodi's trial was happening, I guess they were like showing it in the rec room at the jail Shayna was in. So she'd be watching and like taking notes. She was inspired. And then a third and final jailmate took the stand. Her name was Donna Dooley. And she testified that Shayna told her on the night of the murder, they were sitting, this was a quote, like they were sitting at the kitchen table and he had sat his gun on the table. She told me she picked up the gun and said, "What would you do if I," and then he smirked and she shot him. Now, this version of Shayna's story kind of fits with what the forensics experts had been saying, that Ryan was sitting down when he was killed. So then, Ryan's downstairs neighbors, Vernon and Doris West, they were called to testify about what they heard that night. They said they never heard any like fighting or arguing, but around 8:30 p.m. they heard a woman crying out on the balcony. And then about 15 minutes later, it sounded like she had like gone back inside. Then, I guess, they heard 2 gunshots, followed by 4 more shots, and then what sounded like a body hitting the floor. My mind was like, did they call the police? Because if you look at the police records, their names didn't show up. But maybe you're just overlooking. Maybe they did. Or maybe they're just like, nah, that's our crazy neighbor again. I don't know. But that's what they heard that night. That crazy neighbor, he's always shooting stuff. Carissa, remember Ryan's cousin, she testified about some of the texts she got from Ryan where he was expressing his frustrations. He texted her saying, quote, "This is getting to be restraining order level crazy. She's shown up at my condo like 3 times and refuses to leave each time." End quote. Now, during this time, when this whole situation went down, in order to get a restraining order against someone in Kentucky, you either had to be living with the person or be married to them. So there's no record that like Ryan was trying to get a restraining order, but I just thought it was interesting that even if he did want to, Kentucky wouldn't have even allowed it because they got some funky ass law over there. Carissa also testified, saying that he texted her, quote, "She came to my place on Sunday morning and I literally had to pick her up and throw her into the hall," end quote. So she's like talking about these text messages. She also mentioned on the stand that there was a time where Shayna took her phone to call Ryan because he was ignoring Shayna's calls, and she knew that like he would pick up the call if it was Carissa calling. So again, just further telling the court that Shayna was freaking obsessed and Ryan was obviously bothered by it. So Shayna's lawyer focused on showing the jury that Shayna and Ryan's relationship wasn't as negative as the prosecution was making it seem, okay? There were several texts between the two of them that were completely normal and loving and even sometimes, spicy, They're like, look, nudes. See? They loved each other. But the big question her lawyer asked the court was, if things were so bad, then why did Ryan invite Shayna over to his parents' house the night before he died? And in my mind, I'm like, how is that helping her self-defense case? I don't, okay. And then it gets worse. Because Shayna's lawyers, they then call to the stand Christy, Shayna's friend, who was also a dentist, because investigators had found some very interesting texts between the two of them. So Shayna had texted Christy 10 days before the murder saying, "When I go to the shooting range with Ryan tonight, I want to turn around, shoot him, and kill him, and play like it's an accident." Yeah, Shayna had texted that to Christy, but Christy swore up and down that it was nothing more than a joke. Like, she was very team Shayna. I think that's why they brought her to the stand, to show like, she's funny, ha 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 ha. See, everyone? She was just kidding. Christy said they were just kidding. I think that's what they were trying to do, because I was here like, how does that help? That does not help. But then there was another text message, and this was sent 2 days before the murder. Shayna texted Christy saying, quote, "Ryan has been begging me to ask if you could do his veneers. Please fuck them up and make him ugly so he'll never get another girl. I hate him." Again, I was like, how is this helping her case? I don't fucking know. Shayna did not take the stand, but a clinical psychologist that was like working with her in jail took the stand, testified about her mental state, saying that she was struggling with PTSD from the shooting and was like waking up in the middle of the night screaming, which is just telling the court like, see, regret. I don't know. And then going on to say that Shayna had an IQ of 125, which is above average, but not Einstein level. I guess Einstein's IQ was around like 160. Oh, I hate when people brag about their IQ. It's like, who gives a shit? You're in jail. So obviously you're not that smart, okay? If you were that smart, you would be out like doing math on a freaking whiteboard. You're in prison. The psychologist also told the court that he diagnosed Shayna with 2 disorders: bipolar disorder and personality disorder with narcissistic features. And he talked about her history of alcohol and prescription drug abuse as well. Then on April 23rd, the closing arguments were made. Shayna's team told the court that she was just defending herself against Ryan under Kentucky's stand your ground law, and that yes, she may have been obsessed with him, but that doesn't mean she was a murderer. Wow. The prosecution argued that Shayna was just a freaking liar, okay? And they brought out the blood-stained table and chair from Ryan's kitchen. What do you call that? What do you call that area you sit in? Dining room. They brought in the bloodstained table and chair from his dining room. And they reenacted what they believed happened that night. So in their version, they believed that Shayna grabbed the gun from the table, shot Ryan twice while he was like sitting down. He fell forward. He was twitching. And then she shot him 4 more times before his body fell to the floor. That's what they think happened. So the jury went and, did their deliberations, and 5 hours later, they came back with a verdict. Shayna Hubers was found guilty. And on August 14, 2015, the judge sentenced Shayna to 40 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years served. Now listen, you're about to click out of this video, but it's not over. No, it's not. It keeps going. Because you think, oh, okay, great, case closed, the end. Nope. Nay. It's only just begun. My camera was overheating, so I put on a lash in the meantime. But we're back now. Okay, I put on a lash. So, listen, it's not over. Right after sentencing, Shayna's lawyers, they started to prepare an appeal. While reviewing court records and footage, one of her attorneys realized they recognized a face in the jury box. They're like, hey, I know that guy. Turns out one of the jurors in Shayna's original trial was actually a convicted felon from a case that these lawyers had handled over a decade earlier. Meaning, one of the jury members on Shayna's original trial was a convicted felon. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but this is exactly what Shayna's team needed, because a convicted felon cannot legally serve on a jury. So, with that discovery, the judge declared a mistrial, granting Shayna a brand new trial. Oy. Now, obviously, this is very exciting news to Shayna. She's like, yay. So she sat in jail, waiting for her next trial date. Jail life didn't seem too rough for Shayna. In 2016, she met the love of her life. She fell in love with another inmate named Unique Taylor, who is a trans woman. They dated for like 2 years, and then the couple, they applied for a marriage license through the Campbell County Clerk's office. But when days went by and they got no response, Shayna, she reached out to the local news station saying that she and her fiancé were being discriminated against for not receiving their license. Now, the news station agreed to do like an interview and met with Shayna at the jail. While the reporter tried asking about her upcoming retrial, Shayna, she dodged those questions and she steered everything back to her marriage request. Now, eventually, the journalist asked what many people were thinking, like, is this just a ploy for sympathy? And Shayna insisted, no, it's all about love. We just want to be together. But listen, it's the timing. The timing was raising some eyebrows because during this time of her interview and everything, LGBTQIA plus rights were dominating the headlines, with several discrimination cases making major news, really. And there was also a major Supreme Court case that was happening at the same time. So it was making her interview feel less like a coincidence and more like a strategy. So after the interview aired, the clerk's office clarified the situation, saying that they had actually never denied Shayna's request. It had only been like a few weeks, and they simply they hadn't processed it yet. So they were like, yeah, okay. And literally, like, not long after, the license was granted, and on June 7th of 2018, 27-year-old Shayna Hubers married 41-year-old Unique Taylor. So now married, Shayna once again prepared to step back into the courtroom. So Shayna's team pushed to have the trial moved. They were arguing that her reputation was already destroyed and finding like a fair jury would be impossible. They also were trying to suppress the interrogation footage, saying that her rights had been violated. Now, these motions, they dragged things out, okay? But ultimately, the judge denied them both. So on August 14th, 2018, the trial actually starts. Opening statements are made. Much of the same evidence and witnesses from the first trial returned. But this time, Shayna took the stand herself. Oh, yes, she did. She sat up there looking all, you know what, when they come looking all like humble with like a cardigan and like, I could never, not I. She was giving that. Her testimony focused a lot on her and Ryan's sex life because she said that this was where their relationship really fell apart. She testified that whenever they had sex, she really struggled reaching an orgasm and that Ryan was kind of an asshole about it. According to Shayna, Ryan would bring up her past sexual traumas and like blame her for not being able to have an orgasm. And she's explaining to the court, like, you know, it made her feel bad. He was like, it was verbally abusive. Shayna also testified that Ryan would basically bribe her into like doing certain sex acts. Listen, I believe this because he seems like this type. He promised to Shayna to post 10 pictures of them together on Facebook, give her more affection, and communicate with her more if, and only if, she agreed to a threesome. This is what she's saying in court. And according to Shayna, she went along with it. She went along with that deal because all she wanted was his love. Let me get this lip liner on. Hold on. Closing arguments felt like deja vu. The prosecutor even dragged out the bloodstained table again and did like the whole reenactment. And again, just after 5 hours of deliberation, the jury came back with their verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder. But this time, they recommended she receive life in prison. Her team really shouldn't have pushed for an appeal because they ended up getting a worse outcome for her. Before handing down his judgment, the judge said to Shayna, "Your actions that evening were grossly violent and intentionally calculated to cause his death." And then he sentenced her to life in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 20 years. Now listen, a few months after being sentenced to life, Shayna filed for divorce from Unique, and it was granted. So, was it for show? I don't know. But she was quick to do that. It was like, damn, okay. In 2020, Shayna's lawyers had filed yet another appeal saying the media coverage was like way too heavy and certain evidence should have been tossed out. But at this point, again, it feels like they're just grasping at straws, and the appeals court upheld the conviction. So where are they now? Shayna, she is now 34 years old, and she's serving her time at a maximum security prison outside of Louisville, Kentucky. You guys are going to roast me. How do you say it? Louisville? She's in prison there, okay? And she won't be able to apply for parole until September of like 2032. That's it. Listen, hi, yes. And that, my friends, is the exhausting freaking story case of Shayna Hubers, the so-called Kentucky Jodi Arias, a woman whose obsession and need for control just turned deadly. Was it self-defense, like she said? Or was it the ultimate punishment for like a boyfriend who just like wanted to leave? You know, at the end of the day, Ryan Poston, he was 29 years old, you know, he had a future, friends, family, everything. And that was all taken from him for what? Because of Shayna. And it just left like the people who loved him the most with such a major loss. You know, it was just sad. I mean, the sad truth is that we may never really know what happened that night, like how it all went down. It's clear the relationship was toxic and Shayna was completely obsessed. And yeah, Ryan was like an F-boy, a little fuckboy, but that doesn't mean he deserved to be murdered. And remember how I mentioned that Kentucky law where it's like you couldn't get a restraining order unless like you lived together or whatever? Well, in 2016, Kentucky passed a law creating what's called a interpersonal protective order. It's basically like a restraining order, but specifically for victims of dating violence, stalking, or sexual assault. It can prohibit contact, require the abuser to stay away, and if they violate it, they can be arrested. You know, it's some improvement because, like I mentioned earlier, you only had to be married or living together. So that's changed. But you and I know that, like, a lot of the times restraining orders don't even work. Sometimes people don't really even follow them. Whatever, but it's some improvement, Bailey. Just say that. Yes. Anyways, we made it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Be safe out there. If you are being stalked or harassed, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Especially you, men, I'm talking to you. Because sometimes you guys feel like you don't want to, you can handle it, whatever, but you also can reach out if you need help. And you should. Wow, Bailey, that was motivational. I know I'm trying. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Make good choices. Be safe out there. Let me know who you want me to talk about next time. And how do I look? Do I look cute? Let me know down below. Okay, well, I'll be seeing you guys later. Goodbye.